Good evening. So good. See how things go. Yeah. A new title card, yes. This is a thing. This is a thing. Title card. This is a Minecraft world. I'm currently Dynasty C Cobblemont server. Thank you. This is a desert city that was generated by Minecraft that I have renovated on the stairs, done some work on the lighting, added a caravanserai and a Pokemon arena, and then exploited the caves under the city, which are vast and multi-layered, to put in industrial farming where it's not visible on the surface. There's a whole lot of stuff going on directly underneath the buildings you're seeing. At some point, I'm going to do a stream, possibly next week, or later tonight, we'll see how things go. I may pop over there if I still have some time left and we get to the end of run 1. We are at the end of run 1. There is we're down to only so many game days left in the season, and only so much playtime left. Speaking of playtime, let's move on, shall we? I do want to pause for a moment at the sigils. We have 4 sigils that have been revealed. I've managed to on each of these on maps to an achievement, and I'd have to. Yeah, it goes on rather lengthy, in a rather lengthy way. You know, that pseudo Victorian sort of thing. I've looked through the achievements list, each of which has a sigil, and not a one of them seems to be what Moss has on their forehead. So, Cherry Opossum, greetings. Greetings. Welcome, welcome. Always good to see you here. I am ruminating about the game a bit rather than going on and playing it, and I really ought to go on and play it because we are getting near the end of this run. And now there is going to be another run after this. I may or may not start it tonight. We'll see how things go. I may pop over to the Cobblemon server depending upon who is on and who wants to do what. We'll see how it goes. I'm gonna microwave a ramen real quick. Alright, go for it. I made a Mexican dish this evening that was a bit disappointing. Not as good as the last one from the same cookbook. I'll be trying a different one next time I get around to doing one of these. It's okay. But I've commented earlier in the play of this game that I came from a game that rewarded the level of caution. The avoidance of risk also equated to avoidance of payoff. We established that early on in Wandering Village, but taking the larger risk could result in a much larger payout, but it could also result in a very dubious achievement, Unfortunate Son, where you lose a villager on an away mission. You know, you got somebody red-shirted. Lovely. So, coming from that sort of cautious approach for 17 episodes, that was epic. That was truly epic. Did not expect Wandering Village to go on so long or to become so invested in it. It's really a remarkably well done, but that's not the game we're playing tonight. We're playing Fallen London, which rewards being brash and aggressive and trying to seduce everything that moves. And so my initial approach of being an outrageously brazen slut was actually the correct one. And at this point, I'm a little too deep into the conservative line I forged with the cool badge, wearing it everywhere, and missed opportunities. So we're going to work our way through and see what we can make of this dog's breakfast, and then make plans for the next run. Now, I'm going to finish this run out with reading aloud and trying to do some semblance of voices and all that sort of thing. I know I'm not very good at voices. It's not really my thing. Sorry. The second run will not include all the read aloud. Won't be reading all the text out loud because, you know, I will have already done that on the first run. It'll go a good deal quicker. We'll see how things go. In the meantime, let us see what advantage can be gained from rumination. I search for another memory. I reach for another memory out of that jumbled grab bag. Well, Archie searched his books for some precedent. Archie and Harjit had a conversation about something, or Constable Harjit checked on us that night. I want to find out what's this conversation that Archie and Harjit had. This looks like the cellar before Tentacle. I think I remember Archie talking to Harjit. I'm not sure whether it was right when Harjit arrived, though. It might have been later. Something about laudanum dosages. Now, laudanum, just for the record, and this is where we hit our first drug reference of the night, I do have a content tag on my stream. Partly because I talk about Victorian medication. Laudanum is brandy laced with opium. Yes, we're mixing opiates, actual opium, and alcohol, distilled alcohol. The stuff was sold over the counter. Oh, nice punctuation. Thank you. Kaboom. Laudanum was sold over the counter in the time period of all in London in the time period of my own bread spotting, and I do want to talk about bread spotting when we reach a stopping point here. I'm very excited about that, but we're also going to wait for the prompt to drop in the chat. So yes, people sort of calculated their own dosage of laudanum. The more flash crowd would carry laudanum instead of gin in their hip flasks. It's called a hip flask, even if you carried it in a purse. What to do if Harjit found someone who was on the verge of dying in a lot of pain? Depends on what they're dying of, really. There are some things you can't do anything about with an oral dosage. That memory is hazy, as if I heard it from another room or was half asleep at the time. I couldn't swear to it. There was something else, too, that I haven't thought of until now, just the flicker of an exchange. How old would your wife be then? Only the size and gender changed the dose. Archit doesn't have a wife. Archit has a husband. Ah. You don't recall? No, I haven't forgotten anything. Ugh, I'm a doctor, or near to it. There's no need to be shy. And is Vista sleeping by the look of it? Well, the person in question is a gentleman. In his 30s, a military man, near my own height. Oh, aye, not your wife then. If it's a comfort to you, I've made a friendship with two of that persuasion myself. Then they have recent ones. They went away then, Archie showing Harjit how to measure various medicines for a large military gentleman. Harjit's husband was still with him that night, and Harjit consulted Archie for how to relieve the man's pain. Harjit sat with his husband as the man died, and had consulted Archie on how to ease the passage. Ooh. And there's another reason why there are content warnings on the stream itself, and I suppose I should have done some sort of content warning at the beginning of the stream, but this is Mask of the Rose. This is Fallen London. This is a dark ride. You knew that. The sign was right there when you bought the ticket. So, let's build a story. Look at what I've got going. Ministerial exposés is in progress. I think there's a thing I can go on and do with that. My outfit. Let's, do I want to be intimidating and devilish, or do I want to be outrageous and flash? Let's be devilish. Let's just continue on with the Spirifer's fork. A Spirifer has not been explained in this game, but it is clearly explained in the lore of Fallen London, and in the main game. A spirifer is a dealer in the soul trade. That is a symbolic soul fork, which is where somehow the idea of a trident came from. You don't want to mutilate the soul, you want to extract it. Keep it in a saleable condition. Right, we'll continue on with Algernon. And continue on. Get outside. Oh my, we have so many things that we can do. Let us look at the Devil's Townhouse. We can ask Milton about whether Ivy had the means of murder. I don't think it's plausible. I think we've got an implausible theory and that we need to revise it. I can take Rachel my latest plot work. I can't take Archie his thing until get the drugs in, which then taking him the drugs requires wearing the prisoner's jacket. Bloody heck. Let me back up and change outfits. Go to the torso. And I'm going to go to the prisoner's jacket. We'll leave the Spirifer's fork and the rat, as they seem actually... Oh, hello. Alright, I did it. Yeah, gotta keep the soul fresh. Don't want to break the seal. Yeah. I think keeping the Spirifer's fork is going to show me to be a rather dangerous person, as well as... let's see if this gets me. Take Archie his drug supplies. Dressed like this, I shouldn't go anywhere near the prison hulk without Harjit. Right. A walking advertisement to robbers. Should change. Hat. Hatless. Go back. That'll do. Nope. That won't do. Not quite right, but I can try again. Lapel. We'll go with nothing. Go back. That'll do. Aha! Dressed like this, I can sneak over to the Hulk without Harjit and visit Archie on my own. There we go. None of the locals will bother me, and I probably won't be kept aboard. Probably. Well, I'm satisfied with this. If I'm kept aboard, that would rather stop the game, therefore I'm going to be able to leave. Yeah, I guess the fork shows that you have souls to take. Ah, you're taking a risk coming here without Harjit. If you don't watch out, they'll pack you up in the ungulate beside me. And then where will we be? I'm going to bring up my recent memory of Archie. I want to chase that. I remembered something strange from the night of the fall, you whispering about how to dose drugs for a grown man. Thought I was asleep. Don't remember that. Have you found someone yet to stand in for me here? I've been keeping a hammock warm for the true culprit if you can find him. I'm going to say I'm making progress. Nearly there. I found out some very interesting things. Hey, so I can come home soon then? We'll see. And remember what I taught you, eh? When you're crafting a theory and there's something you don't know, figuring out which bits are still unknown, that'll let you ask the right questions. Hand over the drug supplies, now Harjit is gone. Brought you your ingredients. Take these. They might not seem much use down here, but if you need to go where you won't be recognized, they're useful when it comes to keeping prying eyes away, and taking a dark view of things in general. Posing specs. As if the neath were not dark enough. These are eyewear for a prophet of gloom, an evangelist of nocturnalist fantasy. When I wear them, people can't tell what I'm thinking. Hey, well done. You found more of these than I thought you could? Buy drugs for Archie, goal complete. Successfully bought drugs for Archie. Moment no one speaks. Let's talk about his recollections and past. Dig into the character. We talk of recollections again, and this time they are particularly surprising. Archie describes at some length the struggles of a ship around the southern tip of Africa and how, with considerable damage to the hull, it struggled to harbor for repairs. When I ask how and when he left Britain, he shrugs and says that he never left before now, and that the story must be something he read or heard from another medical student. But he told it in such a way that I could almost smell the brine. There's all sorts you know about me, but I keep thinking of things you've not told me. Oh? What sort of family did you grow up with then? Mother like mine, always asking what you meant to do next? I don't care to remember them. There's some that have that look. I'm sorry. There's no accounting for the distribution of parents in life. Judging by the clock, I can afford one more errand today before supper. Bravo. Well, that's got me that one. Mystery solution. We need to get Ivy out of there. It's not Ivy. I'm going to blame Rachel. Now let's see. Thrall Street. I can present my theory of the murder to Harjit, which is a check here on it. Oh, for Pete's sake. I should change. Let's get Algernon and the posing specs and the elegant cloak and the Spirifer's fork. There we go. Now that's an outfit. What do you think of that? There we are. I've got all sorts of interesting things going on. This is quite a lot about me. That'll do. Doesn't matter what I'm wearing for this particular task. Yada yada yada, same boilerplate. Clickety-click, clickety-click. Most likely no one will expect me to exchange news of the day. I'm satisfied with this. Good afternoon, Isvestia. Present Harjit with my theory of David's murder. I believe I know what happened and why. When I start to explain, however, Harjit stops me. Whoops! The only person who dosed David was Archie. That was all gone over in the inquest. You could claim someone else was involved, maybe. Say they influenced him or they tampered with the bottle, but only Archie gave the medicine. Can't convince me anyone else spooned it into Mr. Landau. Bloody heck. Alright, I've got to fix that. To attend something else the rest of my afternoon. I'm going to go with Rachel. Whoop. Rachel tampering. New investigation theory crafted. Whoa. Oh, there we go. Got an interesting one here. I think I've hit something. Head outside. Grawl Street. Presents my theory of the murder to Harjit. And I'm fine with what I've got. Present my theory. Whoa, we're zooming in. I lay out the whole story as I've reconstructed it, complete with means and motives. It is usually the fault of a relative. I suppose I should have expected as much. On the evidence you've given, though, I wouldn't be surprised if the court decides against Archie anyway. It will be hard to prove that anyone meddled with the dose. And what you're bringing me, you sure of it? After I've taken this to my superiors, I won't be able to retract it. If you change your mind later, it will be too late. I'm going to wait until I've done other things that should happen before the trial. Second thought. I understand. Go attend to something else the rest of my afternoon. How much time and time I can... Oh! Popping off theories to Harchett isn't taking my action. That's not taking my action. Brilliant. Let's interview Ivy about Rachel as a suspect. I'm going to go with this outfit. This is going to be quite interesting to see what effect it has. Happy Yuletide, comrade. I hope you're keeping healthy. Anything you like the look of in the market for a new hat? I'm sure Algernon's like, and what do you mean new? It's like, you know, singing Any Old Iron. Oh, lordy, that's a Hodgson. Very few people are going to understand what Any Old Iron references. So, ask Ivy if she'll answer questions about David Landau. I had a question or two for you. Where I come from, we don't inform for free. You want me to remember something that'll cost you tuppence? Remind her she owes me one. I paid very generously for that stylish top hat with mushrooms. I hear you were at the Landau townhouse the day David died. So it was? Not that I knew it was his last day at the time. I was there to refurbish one or two of Rachel's gowns for her. It used to be your Rachel Landaus would never have their old gowns made over. But new cloth is dearer than hen's teeth, no? You didn't see David while you were there. He was resting, not well enough to receive visitors. I did see Archie arrive. He might have left his bag of medicines unwatched for a time. But that's not what I was there for, was it? But you had no reason to kill him off yourself. No reason of my own. And Lord Carringham didn't pay me to do it either before you go herring down paths like that. He'd have had reason to, saying that his wife was sending love notes to David Landau. Oh, there's a whole line of investigation that I failed to stumble across until now. Oh, for heaven's sake. And Ivy just blinks at me. And I was acquainted with him. But he didn't put me to the temptation of offering payment. Talk about Rachel's possible motives. Lay out my theory that Rachel might be the culprit. She and David did argue over her devil friend Milton now and then. But I wouldn't have guessed her for it. She puts too much of her spite in writing. I did see Milton on the day of the murder, carving some markings in the base of a candle. Just standing there in the parlor, shaping the wax at the end of a pen. He didn't notice me standing there. The sight of it made my hair stand up, so I backed out of the room again. I mean, yeah, a devil was carving a candle. I mean, there was definitely a magical purpose involved there, no question. Just making marks in candle wax. Nothing to do with Archie's medicine. But a strange pastime in a stranger's parlor. Ask Ivy about motives for Archie. And you think why Archie might have meant harm to David Landau? No reason that I know of. Silence falls. There was a mother who came to me to confess about the death of her baby. I'm going to have to listen to this. Sorry. This may get bad. The era that Fallen London takes place in was awful. It was terrible. Given a chance to time travel to the late 1800s, no thank you. If you've got video you shot, I'd be very interested to see it, but I don't want to experience the Victorian era directly. It was dreadful. A horrible place and a horrible time. Well, the deed was done and peckish work it was, but there's still not a belly timber in the house. Oh God. And what did the mother do with the body? Well, she said it was, I already learned to roast a cat. I can see in her eye that it somehow gets worse. We are I want to carve a candle with the demon dog. Is that a euphemism? Alright, we are going into serious horror here, be aware. And then David Landau returned from the boat with all his teeth and hair. But a person making that return with the choice cuts a peck missed out. The spectacle isn't a gladsome sight to the mum's eye. Be that how it may, Alamus alone was not enough for that woman. We had to take the memory out clean, which is a matter I'd not have known to do above. Hello! Candle carving sounds like a good magic idea. Candle carving and anointing with oils prior to burning is common in a number of magical practices. Yeah, widely done. So, we have just learned something. The crone who runs the urchin gang in these parts, she knows things. She was here before London fell. Are we about to meet, was her name? From the Sandman series, the old homeless woman who did street magic and folk magic. Had been around for a couple 100 years. And I say, down here you take what advice you can. So Ivy's got a connection with someone who can remove memories, which would take care of David Landau's issue. I'm going to thank her for trusting me. Thank you for telling me. I ought to put the thing down somewhere. Let us compare notes on the fashion of the need. Let's make a little bit of small talk. Ivy and I have served different clients, perhaps, but we speak the language of the same profession. We get to talking about about the materials available in the needs, about how colors look different when they're never exposed to sun, about how it's harder to tell good workmanship from bad in the dark. We talk about warmth and the importance of fit and the art of constructing a gown that can be refitted as the wearer changes in size. There's a few ladies who are no more than sticks. Diet below hasn't agreed with them. Ah well, top of Rome for me. Top of Rome is rhyming slang. Some word equivalent to success or income or cash or coin, pounds, pay, something. Alright, my opinion is unchanged. Let's just leave that. I shake my head to clear it, yada yada, the usual boilerplate. It is almost time to eat. Oh my gosh, we just uncorked 4 different story crafting ideas. Sent adulterous letters. Was hired by someone rich. Phoebe was hired by Carrington to swap the drugs. Let us build a story, mystery solution. We're going to go here to motivator, and we're going to change it to Phoebe. Phoebe tampering. Continue. Motive. Was hired by someone rich. Motive. Wait a minute. Yeah. Someone rich. Close. Alright. Phoebe worked for Lord Carringham. There we go. Alright. Now, you need to present that to Rachel. Get outside and get into supper. Alright, alright. Oh, right. We had the Laburnum update. There's been a quality of life update and a couple of other things going on. When we do run 2, we're going to see a more linear first story that is going to be more explicitly tutorial and walking through the necessary processes. I remember I struggled with the whole story building thing, and I'm just now, as I'm running out of days, uncorking a lot of story elements that I really needed earlier to be able to chase some of this. Yeah, looking at the sigil on Moss's forehead, it's not any of the achievements. I have no idea what it is. And we discovered last week, that they're occasionally mirror imaging the artwork in order to put Moss on the other side, which is mirror imaging the sigil. So when Moss sits over where Horatia is sitting tonight, Moss's sigil is SW instead of WS. I wonder if it's just the initials of the artist. Be amusing. The creator putting their mark literally upon their art. And we have a full table tonight, except we don't have Archie. This isn't much time left before Archie's trial. 1 day left. I wish we'd found a way to break him out. Say I know the guilty party, and we'll tell Harchett in the morning. I've discovered who is really to blame. I intend to tell Harchett as much. You say so, but I rely on you not to let this go wrong. Oh, it's going to go wrong. I've made a complete dog's breakfast and left everything down to the wire. I'm going to try at least be decent enough to give a hand cleaning up. Review the day in my journal. Oh, I've got so many things yeah. Ask Harjit for guidance to the den of rubbery creatures. Oh boy, I gotta talk to Harjit about the case first. There is a way to forget specific memories. Need to find the old woman who runs the urchin gang. And still have not figured out who I could. One day, remains season of you. As usual, I resort to the morning papers. Okay, here we go. The headlines today read, Nightmares of Mechanical Bear continue to plague Old Castle residents. Alright, so the people who live in Old Castle are they having, is this being metaphorical? Is it saying that the mechanical bear is giving them nightmares by showing up? Or that they are having nightmares about a mechanical bear? If so, are they all dreaming of the same mechanical bear? This raises a lot of questions. Really, I mean, this story actually is one I would read. I want to know more about this. What about this mechanical bear? Is it only appearing in their dreams? Is it the same bear? What's going on? I want to know more about this. But we won't find out more about it, I don't think. We'll do the recall the past thing. I reach for another memory out of that jumbled grab bag. Okay, I think Grizz did say something about her family name. That's a new. After that, Grizz was eating a cold dinner. There wasn't a hot one that night. But Horatio was determined that we had to eat. No question of lighting the stove today, I'm sorry to say. I've found a few things in the larder. Those few things would be worth a fortune now. She had the end of a loaf of bread, a roast joint we hadn't finished, actual meat, a cheddar with the wax covering still on. Oh my. The jellied eel's barely been touched. Plenty to go around. A jellied eel is an interesting thing. Was a popular street food, especially in the low rent sections. There was a reality show, one of those historical living experience shows that the Brits are so love to do, Victorian Tenement, in which one family survived partly by selling street food. They sold Victorian street food, and one of the things they sold was jellied eel. They also sold roasted pig's trotters. Basic. Hell yeah, love half a leftover joint. Oh, in several senses of the word, I'm sure. Eel, however, I just can't do it. It tears me up so bad. In fact, I think Grizz mentioned her family briefly. When the sky got dark, a grim reference. Are you concerned for your parents? You can visit them in the morning, perhaps? No. I could go with you if you want to. Archie could escort you, I dare say. That might be better. If the Everleigh townhouse were to slide sideways into the Thames, I would not be going to investigate. Huh, Everleigh. Griselda Everleigh. And her mother was a lead. I want to know what jellied eel tastes like. Is it used like a Marmite? Not exactly. As I recall, it's jellied in something like aspic. Yeah. There's, Victoria, I would recommend watching the Victorian Tenement series. It's only 6 episodes, and it's shockingly realistic, rather depressingly so. It gets into all sorts of interesting tidbits, including the process of making Victorian street food and selling it to modern day Brits. That got all sorts of fun. All right, we need to head outside because I need to get to Thurl Street and present my theory of the murder to Harjit this morning before trial. Yes, I'm going to, ooh, excuse me. Hop straight on over. Marmite is used as a spread on toast over butter. Jellied eel, I'm not sure. I think it's just eaten by itself, but I'm not totally sure. Don't remember. Not like kippered, no, not like pickled herring, which goes on, again, on bread over butter. Good morning, Isvestia. Danish breakfast. Present Harjit with my theory of David's murder. I believe I know what happened and why. Laying the whole thing out. I see. So Archie's fault was carelessness in leaving his dose unprotected, and Phoebe took advantage of the opportunity. It's possible, though it will go better if we can provoke her to confess. But many housemaids have poisoned their employers before, or at least the court thinks they have. The housemaid gets blamed when the wife is actually the one who done it. In the Victorian era, a widow was considered an experienced woman and could pretty much do whatever she wanted, which led to a rash of unpleasant husbands dying of, well, it was usually put down as cholera because the symptoms of cholera and the symptoms of arsenic poisoning are really not that different. On the evidence you've given, though, I wouldn't be surprised if the court decides against Archie anyway. It'll be hard to prove that anyone meddled with the dose. I haven't had I really don't have a choice here. Tell them my story about Phoebe meddling with Archie's medicine. I'm sure. Alright. It's time to run another errand today. I'm going to head over to the Landau's townhouse and take Rachel my latest plot work and see if there's so many things you can pickle. Oh, absolutely. You can pickle all of it. Really interested in pickling weirder stuff. Pickled herring is incredibly popular in Denmark. Tiffany and I discovered when we went there several years ago. It's a standard breakfast, and it comes in so many different flavors. I was eating curry pickled herring on black bread with butter for breakfast, which was a solid breakfast. It'll stay with you. Okay. You have a visitor. Intercept Phoebe and keep her in the room. Miss Riley would stay, in fact, as you like. Alright, mention the nightmares of a mechanical bear. Inch of mockery into the hole. I don't find this type of monsters very probable. Likely just another thing we don't understand yet. Talk about the need to protect oneself. Let's be provocative. No, it doesn't go anywhere. They say if you travel far enough through the cave, you'll find the ruins of Kitej. Offer this plot that touches on the heroine's beliefs. I lay out my plot. From there, I go on to speak about the ending, the transition back to religious origins. I'm not sure. Figure out her doubts. What is it she doesn't like about the plot? Yeah, I want to try some of that. It's, it really depends on where you are. If you were in Chicago, I would say up on the north side, you should be able to find it in the grocery store. Look around. It's not a Danish neighborhood, but there is a Swedish neighborhood, and the Swedes and the Danes and the Norwegians and the Finns all have a thing about pickled herring. So yeah. Oh, we've got a prompt from a coffee page. We'll do that in a moment. She's silent a moment. I'm sure there's a great deal you've observed about this. If I started to write about this, I might never stop. The families that used to pride themselves on their philanthropy who find they can no longer feed anyone. The poorer newcomers who want to bring their relatives down to the neath because they think that even in the darkness London is safer than the surface. The law that can no longer be obeyed. I wonder whether it would be a novel anymore. I think it might become a social history. Who would read it? Yeah, Chicago is good for finding just about any type of food you can think of. I loved Chicago for food. Chicago is not a city. It is a cluster of ethnic neighborhoods huddled together for warmth. Lived there for about 10 years and have really some excellent memories of the place. There's some of the places that are still there. Chiquan is still there. Up on the north side, right underneath one of the L stations, there is a Chinese bakery, a bao bakery called Chiquan. They bake bao every morning, and you'd better get there early if you want the good stuff. It sells out quick. If you get there around lunchtime, you take whatever's left. They do their baking, and then they put it out and sell it, and that's it, and then they're done for the day. Love that place. Alright. Wait without pushing her. Alright, letting her think. It's not that I don't want to. My writing is cartography, and I have never needed a map more. We are anchored in strange waters. My family was already poised between an old tradition and a new. They were conservative? I don't remember if the I know there was a reform movement. I don't know if the conservative movement really got going about this. It was going on at this time. I know more about the Mennonites and the Amish than Judaism during this period. On the surface, we had a new synagogue, a reform synagogue. There we go. She was part of the reform movement. But now half of them have flocked back to Bevis Marks. The rest go to Tintergrounds, as we do, and frown over the mustier traditions. As for those who ought to be closest to us, our own family, half of them won't speak to me because they say I've put them in the papers and make them look like fools. And their pride won't stand it. That, without question, is my own fault. I love the expressions they're giving her. I would not ask a stranger to write about the synagogues as they now are. Even another Jew would not tell it as I would. Let it go and say I'll bring her something else. This is too personal. Find another ending for you. Thank you. I know the requirements of the author may seem odd to the layperson. No, I actually understand it. But if I sit down to write and I don't have suitable incidents in mind, nothing will go right. The characters will talk themselves in circles. Oh, well. That's also where some of the Kill Your Darlings stuff comes from. Let's talk about your artistic friends. I might think that Milton's critique would put people off. but it is the critique that brings people to the event. If he were not sharp, no one would come. We all hate the burden of our readers, those of us who are being published at all. Oh, this is getting personal. It is such a relief to write, not for the broad and toothless mass with their arbitrary and conflicting preferences, but for one specific, precise, and narrow target. Then she caricatures for me several of Milton's most devoted and least effective devotees. Oh dear. There's always the perfumed parlor snakes who just won't give up. Posers. The subject occupies us for most of an hour. Spouse has returned and is walking the dogs. Hopefully that won't be caught by the microphone. There's a chapter waiting for me to finish it. There's always a chapter waiting for you to finish it. It has been distracting. Well, I'm going to try to study human nature as Rachel does. She notices people's foibles and the motives they try to keep hidden. There's also some frustration, some impatience. Yeah, I think that actually is what it's not a matter of what I want to be, but what I am. It's time to go home. Alright, we are at the evening. We're about to go off to dinner and off to the next day. And before we do that, I want to talk about this coffee page prompt that's dropped into the chat. I have a bot that every now and then is pointing off to my coffee page. That is where I am writing a Dickensian serial novel titled Bread Spotting. It demonstrates how a small family bakery and a gang of bakery drivers in 1856 London can apply union principles and community organizing to stand up against a large corporate bakery that is literally muscling in on the local trade. Episode 19 went up today. Scene 19. I have thus far published over 39,000 words on this work. I have 11 more scenes planned at the moment, so I'm past the halfway point. 19. This is a preparatory scene. It is necessary. It is a pivotal scene. It does a couple of things with the characters. The next one up is the sabotage run, which is one that we've been building to for quite some time, and now is a good time to get in on this. It's 99 cents for the episode, or you can make it an even dollar and subscribe on a monthly basis and get access to the entire 19 episodes. Each one comes with it comes in a zip file with an EPUB, a PDF, a plain text file, and an MP3 of yours truly reading aloud the scene. The first episodes are a bit rough. I've been learning how to do audio recording in the process of doing this work. Most recent one has a new noise reduction algorithm applied to it. I've got hopes for that. I've also been watching my technique a bit more closely, trying to watch for pops and so forth and the various noises that I make to get rid of those. So, that really should have started with, and now page 2. And if you get that reference, I really appreciate the fact that you do. And I was a big fan of the man. I loved his work. We're going to go to dinner. It's the only option. Alright, looking a little dismal. I cannot come along to the trial, says Horatia. If you can't bring Archie home afterwards, well, come and tell me immediately. Horatia cannot leave the building, as she's formed a bond here. Maybe physical as well as mystic. I want to send him something in prison for his last meal, if it is his last meal. Realize there's a way to break Archie out. Yet he unfolds beautifully instantly. A confederacy of criminals and rats. The HMS Ungulate is full of rats. Rats who understand me. Rats who are my allies. The prison guards will never expect such a thing. You're thinking of something. I recognize the signs of conspiracy hatching. Yes, never mind. There's no time left for anything else. This is what we will do. I can speak to Ferret before the trial, agree a plan, arrange everything. Of course, before the trial means now, tonight. Rather desperate throw. Develop a prison break plan for Archie. We've hit this at the last possible instant. Wait here. I wasn't going anywhere. Off we go. Oh, we ran and got Ferret. By the clock, it takes me less than an hour to get Ferret out of bed and bring them to Horatia's. There's a few more minutes gone on introductions, since Horatia won't lay criminal plots for someone she doesn't know by name. Soon, however, we are into the essentials of the problem. And a rat could free a prisoner. Don't know so much about one rat by its lonesome, but it's never one rat. It is never his one rat, is it? But a team. Have you trained circus rats? They're better than that, and they don't like it when you treat them as freaks. No, of course. They can do the job anyway. Put an end to any ropes or bars that might happen to be in his way. They've got teeth and very small saws. Oh yes, Ratus Faber. Tool-using rat. Maker rat. They carry tiny tools. I am reminded of the Thule birds from the cartoon series, the DePatie Freeling cartoon series, Here Comes the Grump. And if anyone gets the reference for Here Comes the Grump, that's worth 5 points. Saws? Saws, files, wrenches, all neat as you please. But he'd need a place to go, wouldn't he? You'd not expect him to kip in a rat's nest? Bring him back here. Use the doors to the coal cellar if you fancy it. All respect to your criminal acumen, but that won't confuse the constables long. Think what you like about Hargent, he's too clever to forget where Archie used to live. Hargent won't get in, and nor will anyone else. I give you my word. Oh, I? Tentacle hentai in the basement will take care of this. There's more to everyone these days. I won't ask your methods if you don't ask mine. And none of us go about quite in the same skins as we were. Oh! Oh, yeah, Horatia's got a relationship with the rubbery folk, and, yeah, Ferret's got a relationship with the rats, and now I have a job ahead and not many hours to do it in. You have confidence in them? Anyone can do it. Alright, we've developed the goal. Howdy! Willow! Greetings, Willow! How are you doing? Hopefully you're doing well. Alright, review the day in my journal. A bloody hectic day. We've not had a chance. I've made such a dog's breakfast to this run. We're going to see where we go from here. We're about to hit the day of Archie's trial, except that we're about to break Archie out of prison, because I don't think I've got a chance in hell of getting him off at the trial. It is the end of Yule. Here we go. This day and one more, and that's it. We are due in court this morning. Autosave. Let's do the recall the past thing because it's always profitable. Boilerplate. The new thing, I glimpsed something in a bit of mirror. In a mirror, I saw something that wasn't my reflection. A woman who might have been Chinese, though I could not be sure. She sat at a desk in a flooding palace, and the milky water had come level with her knee. She wrote in haste. Her hands were gory with ink. Ink stained and dimmed the firebirds embroidered on her sleeve. The glimpse of me goaded her. The ink bottle upset. Blue-black bloomed in the floodwater. Is this a vision of a past city, or a past city having a vision of me, or what? Oh, I don't know. Alright, let's change this. Action is... is inspired, finding a muse. The spoilt beauty found inspirations for a new art form. Save and exit. Head outside. We only have one option, the Old Bailey. Let's see, oranges and lemons, see the bells of St. Clemens. You owe me free at 3 farthings, say the bells of old... When will you pay me, say the bells of Old Bailey. When will you pay me, say the bells of Old Bailey. Before they'll fall, any poisoner in all of England might be brought here for trial. Lately it's been closed for renovation, that's one word for it. The Old Bailey is where capital crimes are tried. It is also where transportation was sometimes imposed. We're about to find out in the next scene of bread spottings, something that's been already discussed in the sausage making post that... Oh, quiet order, sit down. I am unhappily aware that most of you have forgotten how to conduct yourselves in a courtroom. If in fact you ever knew. For those of you new to Her Majesty's justice, you find yourselves in the freshly repaired Old Bailey. Apparently, we're to count ourselves fortunate that it is in good enough condition for us even to meet here. We find ourselves in a difficult case. Now, British court, the judge is much more interactive. Important to remember. The culprit we meant to try today has vanished. He was arrested. He was held, I am assured, in a very secure location. And yet, he is not there. Could you account for this, Constable Singh? Oh, we know what tone of voice he's taking. Archie is not aboard the HMS Ungulate. You're quite certain. The guards performed a thorough search. And he's not disguised as someone else. No. Didn't tunnel his way out. I believe it would have been noticed, my lord. It's a bloody boat! What's called a hulk. This was actually done. Old ships that were no longer functional at sea were towed into place and used as prison overflow, hospitals, plague houses, whatever they needed them for. And if it got too awful, they could just take it out and tow it out and sink it. If he had created an opening in the hull of the ungulate. So you might very well think so, but I take nothing for granted, Constable Singh. The rules have changed, but I think if you dug a hole in the bottom of a boat, people would notice. I take nothing for granted in the Neath. Water might not be wet, manacles might not bind. Mr. Reed is gone. Then we will not try him in absentia. Farewell. Thank you for your service, Constable Singh. May our next trial be more propitious, continued until they can recapture him. Better attended at any rate. The constables guess where Archie has gone. In the evening, they come for him. He is in the basement, out of sight from the windows. There are 3 police constables from neighboring blocks. I see them coming through the window. I await their knock, but all I hear is a dull thud. As though someone had tried to rap once on the front door and somehow failed. There's a pause, and then 2 constables run away. I cannot see what is happening on the other side of the front door. Don't open it for an hour or 2. His hand is currently part of our front door. He'll be able to free himself in time. I'm just going to stare at her. I thought he was being eaten. Her powers again, of course. Let's see how strong her protective power is. How strong are you then? What can you fend off? I only find out when I'm tested. Oh! And I'd rather not be tested more heavily. The walls of the house aren't good against everything. Sounds like someone was looking for me above. Don't worry, they're gone. And no harm to Horatia. No. Does Harjit know where I am? Note that Harjit must not know. If he knew for certain you were here, he might send more constables. Or he might think he had to intervene some other way. Wish he did know. I got accustomed to his company before the arrest. Oh no. Don't Stockholm Syndrome the cop. Even more afterwards when he was always about the ungulate. But like is not your right. You see, we've left some of your things as they were. There were some books. I had to clear this and that away. The rats were reading them. Oh dear. Do not eat in the library. You will drop crumbs. The crumbs will draw ants. The ants will read the books. Knowledge is power. Power corrupts. The ants will turn evil and take over the world. The rats practice medicine now. I hope the rats have learned some degree of medicine, and are applying it to their own kind and improving their lot. Really, knowledge of healing should be spread, no matter. How long do you think before I'll be able to do my rounds in the neighborhood again? Heh. Ah, it might be some time. There must be quite a few people ailing. There are, but they can come here. And for those that can't, the basement joins up with a few other houses. Oh, does it? I didn't see that before. Wasn't, it wasn't so before. She just flatly admits we've been busy. Do as you like down here. Help yourself to the pickle. Brew your things in vats. The rats, as you know, are positively friendly. Indeed we are, though the ones in this place sadly lack the benefits of my upbringing. I offered claret, but they turned up their whiskers. But keep away from the far corner there. Yeah, don't go near the far corner there. That's where the tentacle hentai happens. She's more crotchety than before, eh? Might be she did not like me being away so long. She's a soft heart. Say he's no idea. More crotchety. That's a way to put it. And what about you, love? What's become of you while I've been gone? There's no harder to listen now. Let's tell him about Ferret and the rats, because that's relevant to how he got here. I don't suppose you had much time to talk to those that came for your jailbreak. No, just the Ferret sent them. I didn't think much of the chances of the crowbars and files considering, but they're mighty handy with a lockpick or gnawing through a rope. I nod and tell him the whole story. Wouldn't have thought it of Ferret. Wouldn't have thought it of the Reverend either, now we come to it. Let's tell him about Horatio and the tentacle. What I can, so far as I understand it myself. I don't think the house is a house anymore. Or possibly it's Horatio who isn't entirely human. But let me reassure you on one thing at least. I've not developed any mysterious powers while I was aboard the Ungulate. Didn't learn to sing Drowny or commune with the powers under the waves. Didn't turn half coracle and float off down the stolen river. Still myself, same Archie as I was before. Trifle cheerier? You seem a bit less melancholic. That's thinking I was going to be killed and then finding that I wasn't. It's given me a new lease for the moment. But I do still mean to be sneaking out to break for the surface if I can. Especially if you mean to come along. Ask whether he means to start his publishing again. Do you mean to publish more of your theories? It was never easy in the first place, back when I could go about in the streets. But we'll find a way, I dare say. That's enough. I should thank you. I've heard from folk that know the little rumors of rumors. But they say once you've died, you're not safe on the surface again. If you hadn't rescued me, I would have been locked here forever in the dark, sent to prison for long years, or changed so I could never hope to go home again. I am grateful, always. So amid the smell of wine and camphor, we talk of everything that's past. Life is quieter after the trial, at least for a time. Christmas Day comes and goes. Hail flakes fall across London. They aren't exactly snow. Do not catch them on your tongue. It's not oobleck, but you don't want to do it. Grizz's work at the ministry becomes more intense, more demanding. And soon we are coming up on the 1-year anniversary of the fall. 1 year since February. Doesn't feel right to call this month February again. "364 days since the fall, 1 day remains in the season of the rose." We shall continue. Not much we can do here. I'm going to keep what I've got. Head outside. Boarding house. Pass time with Horatia. That's what I can do. We're now on a year since the fall. And whatever may have been, we're not going back to the surface. Ask whether she'd really want to. Would you want to go back above? I think on it now and then. But it doesn't seem right. I don't leave the house now. Where would I go if we were back up there under the sun? Have you seen the decorations going up around the city? I can only see a little from my window. It's as close as she comes these days to speaking of the outside. The city is decorated for a feast of lovers and romance. Explain it's a festival meant as distraction. The masters learned from Yule. Decorate the city and distract the citizens. They've made a new festival about love and lovers. Horatia shrugs as though to say that such things have become usual here. Well, and outside I can go to Hogslain Market or the South Bank. A South Bank allows me to attend the feast and look for people. Hogslain Market allows me to acquire a mask or buy gifts before the Feast of the Rose. I have a mask. Change outfit. Face. Oh, that's a Halamus mask. It's not going to work, is it? Head outside. Let's go here and acquire a mask or buy gifts before the feast. I only have a penny. Certain tutorial requirements. Can you get your feast mask here? Gift from the exceptional Rose. Or choice of them, in fact. And if you have a score to settle with anyone, I can help you with that too for a small consideration. Something rotten to an individual you don't fancy? Yeah, you can, this is the day when you Feast of the Rose is when you resolve issues of the heart, which may involve sending someone flowers or mailing them a dead gopher. Look at the selection of scorn gifts. Wrapped in black paper. I can do you a posy of dead birds to go with it if you like. All the heads pointing up, beaks open, little tongues pointing blackly at the sky. Just a penny more? Regret that I can't afford it. It's too rich for my blood, unfortunately. It's properly in London. Now, where are you thinking to send it? To the Worshipful Company of Stationers as thanks for all those wretched newspapers. I'm sending them a posy of dead birds. This is such a Harlan Ellison reference. Oh my god, I just mentioned the dead gopher. Harlan Ellison had it in his contract that the publisher would not include cigarette ads in Harlan's paperbacks. This was at a time when cigarette ads were printed on something close to cardstock, heavy, glossy, treated, full color, and were bound into the middle of paperback books. You couldn't get rid of the damn thing without destroying the book. Ellison had it put in his contract that his books would be published without these. The publisher put the ads in anyway, and Harlan mailed the guy a dead gopher. One can only imagine the state it was in by the time it arrived. So, for all those bloody newspapers, we're sending them a posy of dead birds. Who do they think they are? Glad to do these little services. What we're here for, isn't it? And if after I've made the exchange, she notes it down in a small notebook, Well, there's probably no harm in that. Now you'll be needing something to wear. I'll go for the more delicate mask. The Delicate Rose Mask. Suitable for meeting friends, knitting matches, and pursuing deeper connections. Knitting matches. Is this competitive knitting? Or are we quite literally knitting matchmaking? You know, knitting people into relationships. Doing some sort of symbolic magic there. That could be interesting. Does that suit you then? I say yes. I don't understand what it's for. Be needing it for the festival. Ask her about the festival. A time for love, seduction, promises. They say the power at the back of it is Mr. Wines. Suggest it ought to be the domain of Mr. Hearts. Not Mr. Hearts? I haven't had the pleasure of an acquaintance. Ask her about the rose. Okay. The exceptional rose. It grows in the winter ground. There's a fierce little face in the center of it, though. No further questions. The exceptional rose bites, if I recall correctly. Wear the mask to the feast and look for the person you most desire in your future. Friend, lover, spouse to be. Well, I need to go look for Rachel. Because that's who I've been working on seducing this whole time, and I've got the points with. So we'll change outfit, and we'll change face, and put on the new item, the Delicate Rose Mask, and we'll change... No, I'm not going to change this. I'm going to go see Rachel, and she's got a thing with Milton. Head outside, and... Well, we're going to go look for Rachel. Go straight to the festival. It's our only option. I make my way through London. Sometimes I still have to rely on memorized pathways, on strange rituals. There is a barricade between Vale Garden and Stolen River unless one pays in coin or word. But many of the difficult old streets lie still now. Oh, do I have hope, do I have curiosity, or am I free of expectation? I am blessedly free of the ravages of thought. All of London is out, walking along the Thames, we're not supposed to call it that, enjoying the feast. Vendors are selling candies and angry bats in cages. Well, let them out, and of course they're angry. Music is fresh and new. Well, I can check on Pages and Grizz, or I can look for people alone. I'm going to check on Pages and Grizz since I've run into them. Grizz is looking maybe a little butch here. I like the Dread Pirate Roberts thing that Grizz has going, and the tie. Mr. Pages is standing to one side, looking over the feast. Grizz is trying to speak with it when I approach. Have you protected London as you should? Chudulence is a quality peculiar to your linguelect. Nonsense, in French, on the vrai. We've concluded the Frenchman's tongue to be irritant. I'm not defending Mr. Pages. Mr. Pages is on his own in this. I fold my arms. You avoid the question. My linguelect is that of light and gravity. Has he been drinking? The correspondent speaks what must be and therefore is. For what is not, we have a colder tongue. We do not invoke its words. Keep your cold tongue, then. Perhaps we are disappointed Disappoignant. Oh, what a word. Disappoignant. I can think of actual uses for that word. Humans expect wrongly of masters. Their disappointment springs from this faults. Grizz expects more than most and therefore has greater error. This will console me. This will be most consolatory in the quiescence of an Agriseldine ministry. I can comfort Mr. Pages or suggest it deserves this outcome. Perhaps you have your just deserts. It is to be hoped you also come by all that you have deservulated. Fuck you too, asshole. I don't see Rachel at first. I do see other faces in the crowd, though, others I could stop and speak with before I go on if I choose. Let us definitely speak with Farrah in a moment. Oh, that's darling. I love when Mr. Pages says words. Mr. Pages says some very interesting words. Suppose I shouldn't be surprised to find you here. You've never been one to shy away from novelty. Funny, I was just thinking about you the other day. I've been selling a lot of my old kit for scrap, traps and wires and the like. Don't want no one else to get their mitts on 'em. And figured there was less cause for worry, what with the business at the church. The funny business, you know, that business. When we baptized a rat. Ask what they intend to do next. And what does the future hold for you? Well, rats. Something of an inevitability there. Kind of adopted into the species. Well, besides that, well, there's been a bit of a to-do at the church. Seems the bishop caught wind of what was going on. Not thrilled of him and any judge. Such a shame there's nothing you can do about it now, eh? There's all sorts at the parish these days, looking to make sense of it all. Now the church has let a rat in and embraced the day as it were. And me at the forefront, they expect me to have an answer to it all. But you blink and don't, that's for sure. I would say that either they be open about their limitations or just say, we're all in this together. I'm gonna go suggest it doesn't matter. We're all trying to understand this new London. Right? Just most are smart enough to keep the trap shut. Only me is just to go mouthing off to every Tom, Dick, and Harry. Have you heard the good news? Rats can talk. Suppose that might be what I get for listening in on the first in the first instance. Well, I must get on. I am reminded, in a way, of Akira Kurosawa's Dreams and the boy who watched the parade of the kitsune and then belonged to them. I'm sure you've lots to talk to. And I'll be here, ducking the amateur rodent enthusiasts. Mustn't grumble, not your doing. I'll still hold Algie responsible, mind. Quit calling Algernon but he doesn't like that. That's really rude. Algernon has been very specific about that. And I'm sure our paths will cross again. Might be under cover of fog, though, if I can get away long enough. Oh. Let's speak with David. Oh, it's you. I didn't get to him. Didn't get to him in time to do the thing with the memory. Just before I died, I had a plan. Building a passenger line up the Camain Canal. I could see the possibilities. It doesn't seem nearly as simple to me now as it did then. I know I won't be able to go back to the surface myself. Suggest solutions. We don't know the nature of the danger. Maybe with the right preparations we could send you above safely. It would be a great risk. All the same, there's a place for me. I have the contacts on the surface, I have resources there which are still mine in title. I know people below, and while I don't fancy Milton will begin providing straightforward explanations in the near future, I still have a great advantage over the average Londoner. Let's hear out his plans. There's something to do and something to look forward to again. After the fall, everything seemed suspended, timeless, like life was already over, but we'd accidentally kept existing. And then after I was murdered, it was hard to stop waiting to be murdered again. Speak with Phoebe a moment first. I kept saying the Landaus were my family. They never chose me. They kept not choosing me. What I've learned is not to rest till I'm with someone who did choose me. Whether that's a spouse or a chosen sibling or an adoptive, I don't know what. So I'm living with the Fitzclarets, which my Catholic mom would say makes me a fallen woman. Like those that lived in camps when I was just a child. But Ivy likes me and her mother likes me more. She makes me food and calls me pet and honey and sugar. Ivy made me a ritual of coming in to bless taking residence at their house. Short or long, however it might be. So I'm all right. I've got my place now. Speak with Ivy. Oh well, what do you think of all this? I'll admire the feast. Impressive. The fireworks are an inventive touch. The fireworks are a little bit much, perhaps. I can think they could be a bit overstimulatory after a time. It can be improved. It will be improved. There's a mite too much ministry in this feast for my taste. But the heart of it I like. It's an invitation, isn't it? To stroll about the city and partake of everything most delicious. Is this the game's way of doing a Where Are They Now? I think it is. The fair, the foul, and what's between the two. That's enough. Time to find Rachel. Before I speak with Rachel again, I'd like Rachel to become my lover. We have spoken of loving one another. I can write now. I don't need Milton talking me through a difficult character. What I do now is more difficult than it was on the surface. But it's better work, too. Was I any help at all? I wanted to be a help with that. It's not something that was given to me by anyone else. But you helped as much as anyone has. Bringing me stories that showed what it means to live in the Neath. I didn't have that before. I didn't know how to ask the right questions. If you want to take on a lady who writes, probably more and more scandalous stories, and not for the sake of the scandal either, do you think you could tolerate it? Oh, yes. Let's just keep it simple. I can live with that easily. People might still try to guess who I'm writing about. I still have that reputation. It might be uncomfortable. It'll be worth it. I'm reminded of the scene in Casanova where he rents out the lower room in his building to a prostitute in order to create his own scandal and becomes famous for being famous. We'll get through. It's a trade I'm willing to make. I'm glad. From there, the conversation turns to the future, to the things we imagine together. It is a long evening of walking along the stolen river and speaking of what might come. And fireworks. Oh. Sky rockets in flight. Underneath delight. And we have plenty of fireworks to fade out. From time to time, I see David passing in the street. In time, the constables lose interest in finding Archie. The Neath is troubled enough, and there are many worse threats. By the time they do, however, the basement of Chapman's extends a long way beyond the original house. In the shadows, Archie and Horatio between them have built the infirmary below. People from around the neighborhood come for his care, and so do some who are not human. They pay in coin and food and rumors of cures, but most of all in perilous ingredients. In a laboratory of rat-built equipment, Archie tests and distills his wares. In later years, when new universities are built and new medical schools are founded, he is the one who lectures. New sigil unlocked. The opening of uncertain things. This sigil can be interpreted as the parlous journey of the multitude or the opening of uncertain things. In later years, when new universities are... there we go. All the possible beginnings of the story are open to you now. Start again and you may find a very different ending to record on the flank of the bazaar. My goodness. Emily Short this is pretty much her baby. Love their music. Really well done. Yeah, I'm getting the sense that Emily Short had a lot to do with this game. Oh, yes. It's a small crew. You see a lot of hats going back and forth here. On the other hand, Feel Better Games has done really extraordinary things with the property they've created, with this world they've created. They've done so many things with it. Composer Lawrence Chapman, score recorded at Brookspear Music. Here's our musicians. Yeah. And the soundtrack is available at lawrencechapman.bandcamp.com. We'll definitely want to recommend that. Quite delightfully done. I'm really loving some of the Ashkenazic influence I'm hearing in the music. Nice to see all the Jewish content in this. It's not something you see as much in mainstream games. Really nice to see it. Representation matters, after all. I'm one of those people who will stay in a movie theater It was kept as in Candles and Cloaks since 2009. Oh my, they had 3 production babies. Look at that. I'm one of those people who will stay in the theater until the last of the credits is rolled. Simply because someone should witness the names of the people who worked on it. Alright, that has taken us through our first run at this game. I will be starting a second run, but I think at this point I'm going to wait until next week. Willow, are you still with us out there? Let's have a look at the users in chat. No, don't see Willow. Alright. Alright. I'm just going to go on and call it here then, and we'll do a separate bonus stream for poking around on the Dynasty MC Couple One server. Some of the time. It's late. I'm tired. This has been Mask of the Rose. I'm the Wandering Beekeeper. Need to remind folks that, as it says on the screen, trans rights are human rights. We have some things to learn. Let's see, there we go. Get there. Black Lives Matter, it's important to remember, and Indigenous lives matter, and land back is not a metaphor. And if we don't get over ourselves and learn how to get along, and some folks are better at it than others, if we don't learn that it all works by understanding, well, my hope is that we leave the world in a habitable enough condition that the meerkats can take a run at it. We will see you all next week. Thank you for being here. Please go check out Bread Spotting. Please go check out Bread Spotting at the coffee link that has been dropping into the chat. And join me here next week for episode 8, start of run number 2.